You are simply magic.
I hate her so much.
Hey everyone, it's Jonathan. Welcome back to Christmas in July on every version ever. Today I'm joined once more by Lisa Faye, and we're talking about another Christmas rom-com, another modern-day fairy tale reinterpretation, 2018's A Snow White Christmas. Lisa and I have a whole long list of princess movies that we are eventually planning on talking about, mostly Cinderella, like we've been planning on talking about Cinderfella for ages, but as I was putting my list together for Christmas in July, I found A Snow White Christmas, and I was immediately in, because I was hoping to find a Snow White movie for Christmas in July, and this looked perfect, but then I also saw that this was by Marvesta Entertainment, the same production company who made A Cinderella Christmas, which Lisa and I talked about last year. So as soon as I realized what I'd found, I sent Lisa a link and made this our highest priority. A Cinderella Christmas had been one of those so bad it's good movies, and I figured A Snow White Christmas would be more of the same, just a different fairy tale. And while I was right, somehow this one was even worse. Or better? I guess that depends on your perspective. Ugh, this was something. I mean, I kind of knew it was because, well, I didn't know this existed until a few months ago when I started looking for Christmas princess movies because I was starting a series on Snow White, Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, and I knew it was going to go into July, and I was like, I should find more Christmas movies because we already covered like a few Christmas themed versions of other stories, including the Cinderella one that you and I did.
Hmm.
So I started looking, and I didn't have any Snow White, so I was looking for something Snow White. And I found this, and then I suddenly realized, wait a minute, this is by the same company that made that other Cinderella movie that Lisa and I talked about. It's like, okay, we have to do this.
And I'm glad you brought it up. Like, I'm glad you tied it all together because that Cinderella movie, it was terrible. And I literally, it's become a tradition. We've already watched it like last Christmas. We were like, yep, we are in. And so when you said that this was the same, production company or whoever that did it, I was in, absolutely in. Oh,
This was ridiculous in the same kind of good way as the last one. Like terrible, but entertaining.
Jonathan, this was probably the worst movie I've ever seen in my life, and yet I absolutely had a blast watching it.
I I kind of agree. Like I've probably seen worse movies because I've seen a bunch of terrible movies for the podcast, but like this is the good kind of terrible. Like this is the kind of terrible that I don't mind watching this again. Like I've seen terrible movies like I
Yeah.
never want to see that again.
Oh
But
yeah.
this I would watch this again just to show somebody a terrible holiday movie.
100% watching this again. Yes.
This is so ridiculous.
I mean, okay, so just overall, I had a great time watching it, but yes, I didn't the saving grace was it was fun, and I actually thought for the most part the actors did really well with what they were given. It was just so poorly shot. There was no dynamic shots to anything. The locations were terrible, and it was just the production value just looked like everyone chipped in like $100 and was like, we're gonna get this done this weekend.
This
Yeah.
is like a Hallmark movie except no budget and
Oh yeah.
not. I mean, I don't want to say it was terribly written because
There have
like
been
it made me
worse.
laugh. Like
Yes.
it was amusing, but like nobody's motivations seemed real, and the two main characters seemed. I think they were going for naive, but they just came off really dumb.
Everyone except I guess she's supposed to be the evil queen, Victoria Snow,
Yes,
came off just so dumb. So
yes.
dumb. Even the prince was
Uh,
so dumb.
yeah, he was the worst one. Like
Oh
everything
my
about I hated the
gosh.
prince.
But yes, I actually did have a blast, and I rewatched it with my husband because I was like, you have to see this, and we actually rewatched it last night in effort to make sure that I had all my notes together, and I mean, he was just like, Lisa, what have you made me? What have you made me do here? Oh my goodness! But
Uh,
yeah, I will watch this again. I actually will put this in my Christmas rotation.
Yeah, I probably won't watch it again right away, but if somebody is looking for, I don't know, something random and purposely terrible to watch at Christmas, I'm going to say we need to watch this. Right along there with the Cinderella one. I can't decide which one I liked better. I think I probably liked the Cinderella one better, but these are kind of basically equals.
Yeah, I would say that if I had to pick one, I would pick the Cinderella one. Was it A Cinderella Christmas, right?
Yeah.
That's okay. Um, but in terms of which one made me laugh more because of it was so banana pants, like the storyline in A Snow White Christmas was ridiculous. Was
Yes.
just ridiculous. At least it pains me to say this. At least A Cinderella Christmas had some. It wasn't even that realistic either, but it
I know
was
what you mean though. Yes.
slightly more believable.
Yes. This, like, I thought they were going for a more believable, realistic, modern, semi-real. Like,
Right.
this could potentially happen. But then they had, like, a whole magic spell in the middle of it, and I was like, okay, what?
That and the tone just shifted from this. I mean, we'll get into it when we go through the movie, but it was just like it would be these bright, jolly, like happy things, and all of a sudden these very dark, intense, looming music, and everybody's in shadows, and I'm like, what is happening? Yeah.
Did you recognize anybody in the movie? Like, any of the cast?
I only recognized one. Well, at first, Victoria Snow, because she has, I mean, I knew she was a soap opera actress. And so I already knew,
Okay.
I already was familiar with the evil queens, Victoria Snow's. I was already familiar with her face because I was like, I think she's a soap opera person.
Hmm.
However, I also thought she bore a very strong resemblance to Jane Seymour. And so that was slightly distracting because I was like, I know it's not Jane Seymour, but they look similar. But the gentleman who played Hap, Naheem Garcia, I remembered him, actually recognized him from the Holdovers.
Oh, okay. That one's on my. People keep recommending that movie to me, and I haven't seen it yet. I need to see that movie.
It's real. I found it very charming. One of those slow, conversationalist movies that just really like draws you in, and you're just like, everything about it is so subtle, but it's to me it was so well done, and it's also a holiday favorite. So I recognized him from that, and pretty much that's it. Everyone else I did not recognize at all.
Yeah. The only person that I recognized was Carolyn Hennessy, who played Victoria Snow, and I recognized her because I don't remember what year it was, but like back in like my early to mid 20s, my cousin and I got on like a Disney Channel kick. We were like adults and we were just like fed up with the world and we were like, we want to watch Disney Channel. So we just started going through all the whatever was playing on Disney Channel, including the show Jessie, which was about
Oh yes.
like a nanny in New York.
I
But
know Jesse very well.
there was an evil neighbor who was played by Carolyn Hennessy.
No, I don't remember. I
Yes.
mean, I know the show, but I don't remember that. That fits because she does evil well.
Yes. Like this was almost the same character except even more over the top than on Disney Channel. If that you would think that like a thing for adults would be less over the top than a thing on Disney Channel, but she was
Hmm.
the Disney Channel version of this character was more subtle. Not that she was an evil queen, she was just an evil, snobby, rich neighbor. But
Right.
she she was still uh, maybe more subtle. I don't know. She was this felt more over the top, but it has been like a decade and a half maybe since Jessie, so I don't remember for sure. But this felt more over the top than that character.
I can't imagine. I mean, I will say this. I did think that she played it very well. Like she
Yes,
convinced me that she's very evil.
she's the reason I liked the movie so
Pretty
much.
much. Yes.
Like she's like a Disney villain. Like she could be animated and she could be Cruella de Vil.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Her and her sidekick Zane.
Yes.
Oh Lord. Those two.
He seemed kind of familiar, but I don't think I recognized anything on his IMDb page.
Same. I there were several people I was like, yo, look familiar. But then I would go through and it wouldn't be anybody I recognized. But except for the woman who I know we'll talk about the woman who cast the spell. I'm not gonna lie, when they first cut to her and then cut right back, I really thought it was Tia Carrera from from Wayne's World. And I had to do it. I went back and I was like, what? And I went and looked at IMDb. I was like, if this is her, I'm gonna die. And no, it's not. But I just for a second there, I really thought it was her.
She was another one I thought I recognized, but I didn't. So yeah, they got a bunch of people that seemed like knockoffs of somebody else.
Yeah, yeah. It was a little Wish and Timu
Well,
versions of
even in
people.
terms of character, because Zane, her sidekick, when he started, he was annoying because he was like my first impression of him was like he's just another gay stereotype, like a
Hmm.
kind of annoying. But then as it went on, I was like, this feels like a total ripoff of Mark St. James, played by Michael Urie in Ugly Betty. Have you seen Ugly Betty? I
No,
loved that
but
show. But this was like that character except worse.
oh no.
And Mark had like a character arc through the whole show. Like he started out as this kind of evil toady
Hmm.
sidekick character, but then he like became more good towards the end. I don't remember exactly how it went. It's been ages since I've seen that show. But like he was a hilarious character. But this felt like they were trying to do him, but they didn't quite make it.
Right. I mean, I would say it was 60-40. 60% I enjoyed his shenanigans, and then 40% I was like, okay, that's enough.
Yeah, yeah. 'Cause, like that kind of character, like you have to do it right, otherwise he's annoying.
Hmm.
And this leaned more probably towards annoying for me. But at times he did remind me of Mark in Ugly Betty, and I did like the Mark character. So when he
Yeah.
was more like Mark, I liked him, and then he would do something completely stupid and over the top, and I'd be like, I'm annoyed again.
Yeah.
And this, again, like the Cinderella movie, I think they didn't do quite as good a job with as they did on Cinderella as making it like the fairy tale, but they had enough stuff in there that it still felt Snow White adjacent rather than like a direct adaptation of Snow White.
That's a good word to say, adjacent, because, there were hints here and there, the main character's name being Blanca,
Hmm.
fine, white snow, sure. Then the prince, I mean the guy that, spoiler alert, that she ends up with, his name is Hunter. I get it, Snow White and the Huntsman. Okay, fine. Then there were references to the dwarves, because all the people that she meets later are all have the dwarf names, sort
Like
of, but not
Disney
really.
specific dwarfs. Like
Right,
well, I mean, we'll get there, but like these are obvious nods to the Disney dwarfs, not
right,
just dwarves in general, like
right.
rip-offs of the Disney
Yes, I
dwarfs.
apologize. Shouldn't say just generally. You're right.
Yeah.
And then of course, the first love interest, his last name is Prince, and then there was a mirror that Victoria Snow, aka the Evil Queen, kept looking into, which, we also thought, my husband and I, before the mirror popped out for the first time, because I didn't really think about it. I was just like, oh, there's the mirror, okay. But before that popped out, my husband was like, so is Zane her mirror, but a real life version of her
Hmm.
mirror, because he keeps reflecting back to her that she's amazing. And I was like, maybe that's a good point. So there were hints and nods everywhere, but it was just so far from a Snow White story. I like even her getting stranded in the hotel, or the inn, or whatever it's called, and they kept saying, "You're here to make things better." And I'm like, what? I get it. I get it.
There was so much about that was just so convoluted.
It's so bizarre. So yeah, I mean, it was fine in terms of them pulling in elements of Snow White, but overall, no,
Yeah,
no.
the mirror thing, I feel like they kind of split up the character of the mirror into three elements, and I think Zane was one of them. Although when it first started, I was like, okay, Zane is the huntsman. Well,
Oh,
first
okay.
first of all, when it started and she's making candy, she has a candy company that I guess her father left her when he died, or she's going to inherit.
Which they
The,
don't
the,
really tell you anything about it. She's just shown making cakes
yes, I
in
didn't
the same
understand that at
two
the beginning.
outfits back and forth, which I know they were trying to do a montage, but I was like, you got to do more than two outfits, because
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
So like, you meet this person who I guess is her godmother, and she's made a candy gift basket for her. And when like I knew that Carolyn Hennessy was in this, and like it had been a while since I had read about the movie, so I had forgotten that she was going to be the evil stepmother. So when you meet the godmother, I was like, okay, is this supposed to be the evil stepmother? So she has the godmother instead of evil stepmother. And then she introduces her grandson, or the grandson of her best friend, who I guess had died, and now she's the grandmother.
I guess so.
I
It was
wasn't
all
sure.
very unclear.
And his name was Hunter, so I was like, okay, so this is the evil stepmother and the huntsman.
Right.
But that wasn't what was going
No, not
on.
at all.
So I was confused there. So there's like an attraction, but it doesn't go anywhere, and she goes home, and you meet her evil stepmother. Then I remembered, oh yeah, this is the evil stepmother. Because like I mean, it's Carolyn Hennessy, so I already knew her as this evil over the top person. So she's like, every time Snow White or Blanca is not looking at her, she's like making evil faces.
Hmm.
It's like so over the top. Like she is a cartoon character brought to life. Like everything about her is stereotypical villain, because like Snow White has her back turned and she breaks her precious ornament that has a photo of her and her dad.
And
And
just makes ridiculous faces and like just scowls and like does the evil eyebrows. And I loved it. I loved
yes,
how over the top and melodramatic she was, because I was like, I get she comes from soap opera world. So yes, of course she's gonna be like this. And I ate it up. I was like, I love her.
this is the kind of character that if they're not done right, I would hate this. But
Right.
because of who it is, and because she knows what kind of a character she is playing this perfectly. So I love it. But I loved when like, Blanca annoyed me with how dumb she was, because like this is so everything that the stepmother is doing is like so obviously evil, and Blanca is just like so sweet, and they're going for naive, but I'm just getting idiot. And she's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, don't worry about the ornament. The memory is all that matters. Don't worry about it." And then I was like, "Okay, I'll
Yep.
try."
She was like, okay, great, thanks. Bye. I cackled when she did that. I was like, okay, all right, I'm in. I
Yes,
was a little, yeah, I was like, I'm in.
yeah, she's great. But then there's this whole thing about like they're trying to like explain through dialogue about this will, and nothing about the legal stuff in this will makes any sense to me.
No,
I don't think any of this is actually real. I think they just made it up for this movie. I don't think anything works like this. Like I'm not an expert. Nobody's ever left me anything, so I don't know for sure, but I don't think leaving something to someone works the way this movie wants you to think it works.
I don't understand. So basically, there's Blanca and her stepmom, and they're both given equal division of the house, the money, whatever, when her father passes away. I'm like, okay, but then it comes up, but I can't finalize it until my 25th birthday, which is
At
Christmas.
8 p.m.,
And
which
I'm
is
just
so
like,
arbitrary.
okay, so I get it. Okay, probate. There's some times when you put stuff in a trust and somebody can't access the trust until they're a certain age, but that doesn't mean that everyone else can't access what they, because once probate closes, I'm like, so I'm trying to go through to my mind because I've only been through this twice. Now, did I get left anything of true monetary value? No, it wasn't like that. It was just like, hey, we have to close this, and then here's the accounts that are left open, that sort of thing.
Hmm.
And it's all very technical. And there wasn't ever a time where it's like, but you have until this date, and then someone else can come in and like that's what you have power of attorney for. That's what you have. And so that gave me like tired brain, like tired head trying to sort them. Like this doesn't make any sense. So basically, there's an ultimatum. You have until your 25th birthday at 8 o'clock to say yes, I do want my inheritance. Otherwise, apparently, it goes all to her stepmom, and so naturally, they're gonna try and con their way into getting her to not sign. I don't know. It was
Well,
just all banana pants.
her initial idea is to take her on a tropical vacation so she's out of the country on her birthday. And I'm assuming that this vacation is a ruse so that she'll go on the vacation and then the stepmother will make an excuse and then she won't be on the vacation with her. She doesn't say that, I'm just kind of assuming.
Right.
But then she meets Lucas Prince, who wants to have a Christmas date or something, and she doesn't want to go on the vacation anymore. So he like convinces her to not take her on vacation, and it's so random and arbitrary.
it's strange because they bring in the Lucas character, Lucas Prince, to redo their house, which there apparently from there's a part in the movie where at the beginning when she talks about the vacation, but it's 3 weeks away, my birthday. And so, okay, you're going to renovate your house in 3 weeks before this vacation, or you're going to get started and then leave on a vacation and leave the renovations open. Like all that wasn't very clear. And then I'm like, what are they renovating? Because the entire place is like a piece of stone marble. Like it's all very, very modern and very white and very clean. And the stepmom, Victoria Snow's like this relic. And I'm like, relic? Everything in here is like that gray and white marble that you see all over freaking Pinterest now. I'm like, what do you mean? And I'm like, and then there's Blanca saying, I grew up in this home. I'm like, you did not grow up in this. And of course she saves it. Every time every time in this movie when something banana pants, I was like, what? They would throw in one liner to tie it all to, to fix it, this little loose end. And I was like, what do you mean it's a relic? It's brand like everything in it is brand new and modern. And she says, I grew up in this house. I'm like, no, you didn't. And then right after that, she says, and my dad had it renovated a few years ago before he died. And I'm like, what? No. And of course, Victoria's like, well, I want it to be opulent now. And so that's, they bring in the Lucas Prince character. And I'm like, all this is so bizarre because why would you do all of this right before Christmas and then try and get her out of the country? What? None of it made sense. It just really didn't.
And I don't know what she even means by opulent because Lucas brings in Hunter, the grandson of her godmother, to paint murals. And like the only time you see him painting is he's like painting a tree on a wall. And I'm like, this is opulent.
It's 4 sticks that he finally paints on the wall, like four little branches that are really nothing. They're just brown streaks. And there's no sketching involved. He just sits down and starts painting. And I'm like, what? Why would she want murals in her house? Murals of what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what she thinks she wants.
No. So I was like, all right. Like, you know what? At that point, I'm like, I just have to go on this ride.
Yes.
I can't. Well, I say that and then we'll talk about it. But as soon as she gets to the hotel, I'm like, okay, what? Okay, anyways, we'll get there. Okay.
Well, I also have to question her father's sanity because what was with her father? Like, we don't ever meet him because he's died before the movie started. But like, well, A, why would he marry this person? Like,
right.
This person obviously did not love him, which I mean, they're going for the fairy tale, and that's what happened in the fairy tale. You had the father marry an evil queen and then she died. So I guess we have to just go with that. But like nothing about him made sense. Like everything she said about him didn't match what this house was. Like he seemed like this kind of down home loving person who liked, I guess, candy because he has this candy store that she works at now. It's like this does not match the person who would build this house.
Right.
This house that is sterile to the point of near ugliness to me anyway.
Yeah.
I don't get the father. He didn't seem to be the kind of person that she said that he was, but whatever. We have to go with it because it's the fairy tale, I guess.
Because it's in the script and we're just like, okay. But they had pictures of him throughout. They kept showing pictures of him. It was the same picture in various frames, in various angles, just the same picture. And I'm like, okay, either somebody donated that picture and was like, we'll use this, and we got permission from the guy, because the daughter in the picture did not match Blanca at all. Like they didn't look alike at all. And I'm like, I know it's supposed to be a younger version of her, fine. So if they got this photo from somebody in production, was like, yes, we have permission to use it, and they didn't actually have access to that guy, fine. But if those were staged shots, why don't you just pull them aside for like a little half day, maybe 2 days of shooting, and do some little montages that show him and Victoria being happy, so we understand this dynamic before this. It's so everything.
That would have helped make it slightly make more sense.
Yeah, just a little cut through, like cut when they talk about memories and just showing them all together. Even I mean, in my mind, I'm like, okay, if they did that, them sitting around eating dinner and they're laughing. Maybe there would be one little moment where the dad turns around and we see Victoria scowl behind his back, like, ugh, I'm suffering through this. But at least we understand why he liked her. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
we get it, but we're just plopped right into Victoria hates her stepdaughter so much and will do anything to get rid of her and get all the money. I'm like, okay, so we just have to go with it. We're like, fine, we're on this ride. Let's, yeah.
And she hates her so much to the point where it's blatantly obvious, but Blanca is completely oblivious. There's like a line later in the movie that makes it seem like maybe she knew, but like they're alone and she's acting like she doesn't know. She's like acting all sweet and kind, and it's like, really?
Just smiling through the pain the entire time.
And putting up with Zane also, because Zane is a brat, like making comments about her and acting terrible to her. And like she doesn't seem to even notice the mean things that he's saying about her. It's like she just comes off as an idiot at the beginning.
Yes, but they're all kind of idiots. So I was like, all right, this is just the world we're immersed
Yes, yeah.
in.
It's saving grace is that it's entertaining because I don't really
Yes,
like these characters.
not at all.
You also have the side plot of after Lucas has come in and like is totally into Blanca, Victoria, I guess she's a cougar or something because she wants him.
I it was very strange when Victoria and Lucas are like, well, Luke Prince is coming over, and Blanca's like, who's Luke Prince? They're like, hello, he's only the most sought after architectural design, whatever. Fine, he's gonna come over and renovate the house. And Victoria's like, and he's an eligible bachelor, and she like hits Zane like, and he's like, and I'm thinking, oh, she's gonna set those two up. She's gonna set Lucas and I mean, yeah, Lucas Prince and Zane up together. It wasn't until he shows like tries to come in that she's all posing and trying to look sexy, and I'm like, oh, she wants him for herself. And I'm like, hey, listen, I'm not an ageist. I'm like, sure, go after it. He's younger than you, it don't matter. But I'm just like, you're gonna do that right in front of your stepdaughter whose dad died. Your husband died less like a year ago, and this is y'all's first Christmas without him. Okay, fine. It just lends to how awful she is. But I'm like, ma'am,
What does she even see in him? Because like
uh,
she's the potentially rich one. I like is
yeah,
he rich too? I didn't really understand that. He's like a big shot in architecture, I guess, but
yeah. I guess we're
I
led to
maybe he's rich.
believe.
I don't know.
Yeah, I guess we're led to believe that he's very successful in his architectural firm, and he has a lot of money, and so he's like a prince. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
But he came in with those big eyes, was like, oh my God. And I'm like, oh, all
Well, he
right,
also
sir.
talks like a whimsical fairy tale prince, and that annoyed me too because this is like modern day America, so he fully stands out from everybody. If everyone had been talking like him, I'd been like, okay, that's fine, we'll go with it. This is dumb, but whatever. But like only he talked like this, and it just annoyed me.
The only time that worked is when not in this movie, but what's that movie with Amy Adams and
Oh,
James?
Enchanted,
Yes,
James
when
Marsden.
he literally pops out of a fairy tale and
Yes,
he does that over the top princely thing, but it works because of
because he
that's
came from a fairy tale world.
yes, and it's James Marsden and he can pull it off. Like it's
Yes.
yes, and so I'm like, okay, again, dumb.
It didn't work with this guy.
No, no, but that's okay. That's okay. Actually, I he was my least favorite, but he did make me laugh out loud a handful of times.
I, it didn't even occur to me. Like you mentioned, you thought maybe that Victoria was trying to set him up with Zane, and that didn't even occur to me because I don't even know if Victoria likes Zane.
No,
Like
no.
it seemed like she was just putting up with him because he follows her around and does whatever she wants.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Which also begs the question, why does he like her? Like, why does he follow her around and do whatever she wants? I don't get this
Yeah.
relationship.
No, not at all.
But then also, like we said, Hunter comes in as the painter, and like you can tell that he likes Blanca, but then he sees Lucas fawning over her for whatever reason. Like he's like instantly smitten, and he's like talking like the whimsical fairy tale prince. So Hunter backs off and doesn't do anything.
Oh, but he leaves her a painting that looks like you could buy at Hobby Lobby for $6.99. I was like, what? Okay.
But yeah, he's working for them, and Victoria is like wanting to sabotage this date that they're going on. She wants him for herself. So she starts changing her plans, like they're not going to do this tropical vacation anymore. So she hires a hypnotist, but not like a therapeutic hypnotist, like the kind that helps you stop smoking. This is like an actual sorcerer. I guess. Like they don't do any like magic spell CGI or anything. It's just like communicated through like the sound and lighting.
Yeah.
But like she's like wiping her memories of everything but her father and their love of simple Christmas things. So now she thinks she's, I don't know, a poor Christmas waif with no home. I don't know what she makes her think she is. But she seems completely unaffected later on. So whatever.
That entire scene. Okay, let me back up a little bit. So Luke, because this comes into play later. Lucas, Prince, and Vic and Blanca, they end up going out 2 times and 2 dates. That's it. One to the ballet, which we never see the ballet. Every time they go and do something, we never actually see the event. We
That
only see
happened
them
multiple times.
leaving.
They would say something, and I was like, did I miss something when I was
Yeah,
writing
just
my
leaving or
notes?
entering the venue, and we just saw doors because I think it was just all shot in one house in various parts of the house, and they just decorated it to look like. Again, the budget on this was the dregs. I don't know. And so they went on 2 dates. One was to the ballet, which we saw them going into and then leaving, never the ballet. And then the second date was he commandeered her own shop and had her employees set up a hot chocolate bar, which she was like, I want to do this for a business. And he's like, what? Weird. But he sets it up for her and they have a hot chocolate montage night. Fine. Okay. So 2 dates in, Victoria's mad. So she's like, we're going to do this. We're going to get her hypnotized. And this scene, Blanca comes in and was like, what is this? Oh my God, dinner. Yay. Oh my gosh. But there's this woman I've never met before. We're going to talk, whatever.
And she's a party planner, except she's acting very strange.
Yes. And she's there to hypnotize her. And so it's all this very like dramatic, like music where it's like very intense. And they have this really, really like between the two of them, they've got this like eye contact thing going. And the sorcerer, whoever it is got this bell in the shape of an apple, which I thought was a nice touch, fine. I was like, okay, so it's shaping an apple and they're going through and they're having this. And then all of a sudden it cuts to Zane in another room with completely different lighting.
They kept doing that.
On
like,
the
that
phone.
confused me multiple times.
Yeah, trying to cancel the airline tickets. And then they'd go back and it was all somber and atmospheric. And it would just totally cut all the tension. Like it was like it was tense there for a minute because they were drawing this out and the person doing the hypnotizing was like really into it. And I was like, okay. And then boom, Zane in a chair in a random room. I need to cancel some flights. And it just totally zapped all the energy out of the scene. Then they go back and tense back and forth and back and forth. And I know why they do it because eventually Zane comes in and messes up the spell entirely. But it just was so bizarre. The tone of this just kept shifting back and forth and it just made no sense.
No, it didn't. Like, it made the movie what it is, which is terrible but entertaining. But like,
Yes.
if they were going for a good movie, they failed.
Correct. Yes.
Maybe they wanted to make a terrible but entertaining movie, because that is a possibility. There are companies who purposely make terrible movies. Maybe this Mar Vista Entertainment that made these two movies is a company that likes making terrible but entertaining movies. I don't know.
Well, I think of it like what is it with what is his name? With Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2, and then there was Army of Darkness where they started out trying to be very
Bruce
serious.
Campbell?
But yes,
that
Bruce
him?
Campbell. And they tried to be very serious, but it was so camp and everybody's like, huh. And then so eventually they leaned into it and made it. And I'm like, the strengths and you lean into it eventually. But I couldn't figure it out if they were doing it on purpose, like you said, or if it was really them trying to make a very sweet Christmas movie that just had a little bit of a darker edge to it. Because I did go on IMDb and I did read through the little reviews and comments. And side note, I miss the IMDb message boards. Those they used to have those, and I miss those because you could just chat about.
Oh yeah.
God, I miss those
I
so
use
much.
that's where I got like old IMDb is where I would get like all of my information for things before social media.
Right, I loved the
I
chat boards
forgot
on
about
each.
the message
God,
boards.
I was so devastated when they took those away because I loved those. Anyways, but I read a lot of the like little mini reviews that anybody can upload, and so many people were defending it, saying this is satire, y'all. Y'all don't have any. Y'all don't even know this is satire. And I'm like, is it though?
Yeah, is it?
I'm
Like
like,
I can see why someone would think that, but parts of it seemed too sincere to be satire.
yes. I'm like, I don't know if you know what that means because I didn't get that vibe. I just thought it was like we found it funny because it's just entertaining, but we all know this is about like we all know this is a bad movie. But you know, that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. Like that's the reason that I wanted to talk about it because I knew it was going to be bad.
Just not this bad.
It's
Yeah.
bad in a good way. That's fine.
Yes. Yes. If anybody who actually was in this movie ends up by chance listening to this, I enjoyed myself highly.
Oh, so did I.
And I will watch this over and over again. So sorry.
No, yeah, that's like it's not a good movie, but it's an entertaining movie and it's fully
Yes.
rewatchable. And
Yes.
that's the most important thing to me. Because like if I watch a bad movie and I'm like I never want to see that again, then it is a truly bad movie.
Mm-hmm.
But this is like a good bad movie because I would watch this again.
Yes, and I will tell people about it. I'll be like, you need to watch this.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. But yeah, like you said, Zane interrupts the spell and something he says, I guess, on the phone. He's talking about true love, so that apparently inserts something into this sorceress's curse that makes it so now true love can break the curse.
Mm-hmm.
One of those really dumb, arbitrary things. It was like they needed something to happen for the plot, so they just made it happen, no
Mm-hmm.
matter if it makes sense or not.
Which it didn't.
Like, if this kind of magic that this sorceress can do is this powerful, she could just redo the spell,
Right.
make it work.
Which they solved that plot line too, that little plot hole, because they were like, earn your keep, make this, fix this. And she's like, there's nothing to fix. Bye. And she literally gets up and leaves the scene. Okay.
Uh, so then Victoria sends Zane to take Blanca somewhere, like to some faraway town, and leave her in a motel. They pay for like a month's stay, and she's just going to stay there with no memory of where she came from so that she can wait out the arbitrary legal deadline. And if she waits until after Christmas to get her memory back, then she'll be out all the money, which that makes no sense.
Jonathan, I had so many, I was so baffled about the enormous and many plot holes involved in taking a person and dumping them in a random inn and prepaying a month
Yes,
and
because
then
like
leaving.
she goes to the front desk, like she wakes up in this hotel, no idea where she is. She goes to the front desk and she's like, she seems totally unaffected by the
Yeah,
fact that she
she's
woke
totally
up
fine
here.
with it. She's not freaking out like, I don't even know who I am. I don't know where I am. I don't know how I got here. She's just like, hey, hi.
Yeah. And the guy at the front desk, his name is Hap. He is like an obvious nod to Happy of
Mm-hmm.
Disney's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And he like immediately info dumps on her, like telling her all this stuff that no normal person would just immediately tell a complete stranger upon
That no
first
one needs
laying
to
eyes
know.
on her.
Yeah.
He's like, he's the cousin of the guy who owns the motel, and he doesn't work here, but he's working here over Christmas, and he's like part of the traveling Christmas band, the Holly Jollies. And I'm like, as soon as he said that, I was like, okay, well, this is the Seven Dwarves. The Holly Jollies
Right.
are going to be the Seven Dwarves. And then he's like, he tells her that her room has been paid for the next month by her friend who dropped her off. I'm like, okay, well, she's unconscious, so he would have Zane had to like carry her in. So he's
Mm.
like carrying in this unconscious woman and getting a hotel room for her.
Yeah.
And this
And I'm
guy
like,
has no questions.
thank you. I'm like, how is he okay with any of this? Okay. And I'm like, maybe it's one of those you drive up and you get it, and then you get in your car and you drive around to your thing. So he never saw her. Fine. But normally when you register for a hotel room, you have to put down your name,
And
you
sign
know,
something.
something, and leave a credit card. And if those two names don't match, you have to be like, okay, well, who's it, who's paying for this, And I understand in like roadside inns, maybe they're not as complicated or strict in terms of like, just pay us the money. You can fine, you'll get a key. But I'm just thinking like this is a very nice man who's behind this counter who apparently, he info dumps, like you said, on everybody and makes it very clear. Oh, I don't run this. My cousin does, right? Cousin.
Yeah.
And he always leaves this time of year. And I always come over here and help him run the hotel. What? Okay, fine. It just seems very bizarre that he would just, sure. Oh, it's not you staying here. It's another woman. Oh, you're just going to drop her off for 1 month? Sure. Okay. And then this credit card so we can do any charges, whatever. And it's all just swept under the rug. And then there's some sort of agreement that you're going to be here a month. So you can make the place more charming and more homey. And I'm like, what? She's just a guest. Why are you having her work here now? Because I get it in the Snow White story, she meets the seven dwarves and she goes in and she cleans up their place and they're like, oh my God, you make this, you make our life better. I get it. But it's like I said, ridiculous. The whole thing is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
And the fact that he says later, like they don't know where she came from. Because
No.
like he found like a mirror that the person dropped. But like, I mean, the legal stuff in this world makes no sense. But like when I worked at a hotel, when somebody got a room, you had to, like you said, leave a credit card. You had to sign for it.
Mm-hmm.
Like the person who paid for it had to sign, or we had to confirm with whoever owned the credit card, whatever. Like there had to be like a paper trail as to who is paying for this room.
Right.
So why does he not know who paid for the room?
Yeah.
That made no sense.
No.
They should have been able to find him.
And she's apparently the only guest. We never see any other guests.
I didn't even think
hotel.
about that, but you're right. Well,
But
until
apparently
Hunter shows up. He's another guest.
Yes, apparently she's the only one. And I don't know if you're about to talk about this, but one of the first things she does when she gets back to him, she's like, okay, that's fine. Yeah. Oh, 1 month? Sure. And she just goes back and it's all fine. She takes a selfie and posts it on social media. And I'm like, first of all, what? Like, you have social media and you have an account and you're logged in and you're like, okay. And they do cover it. Like I said, all these little plot holes, they do a little one-liner because then we cut to Zane and Victoria seeing her post and I'm laughing about it. But I'm like, do you not have any of your work friends or employees also following you and being like, hey, you haven't shown up to work?
Uh-huh.
And you're posting on social media from a hotel room. What?
Yeah.
Banana pants. The whole thing. Banana pants.
The social media thing, I forgot I was going to mention that too, because like I was going to say at the beginning, like it felt like they split the mirror into 3 items or people, one being Zane, 2 being she kept looking in mirrors and she had the little handheld mirror, but 3 also social media. I think social media was supposed to be the main stand-in for the mirror because Zane was sort of a cross between the mirror and the huntsman because he was the one who took her away and left her in the forest, which is another town and
right.
a motel. But the social media, I think, was like the main stand-in for the mirror because they kept following what she was doing through social media.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it just
But
didn't
I
make
was
any
like,
sense.
no, because like if she has access to her accounts and she has no idea who she is, why is she not looking for clues of who she is on her own social media?
Looking to see who she's taking pictures with. Hey, do you know me?
Yeah, exactly. She seems completely uncurious as to her life before she forgot everything.
Anytime people bring it up, she's like, it's just, I don't know. And then she'd kind of get mad and you're like,
yeah, she'd get annoyed with people for trying to help her.
I will, okay, because eventually Lucas shows up and I know we'll talk about that, but that's the one part where I was like, good for him, because there is a point where he's like, let me take you to a doctor. And she's like, no. She's all mad. And I'm like, oh my God. Okay.
Yeah. Like for the first half of Lucas being there, I'm like, okay, he's actually a good person because he's trying to help her. Like
Yes.
he was written completely inconsistently because like for the first half he's like trying to help her, and then but he's also like really snobby and like putting down this motel and not talking about like when he first shows up, he's looking around in like feigned horror and he's like, my God, it looks like Christmas. Like this is
Uh,
a horrible thing.
this is one of the times that he made me laugh out loud when he was like, let me at least put you in better, surroundings. She's like, I like it. And he's like, this is worse than I thought. Okay, okay. And he's like, okay. I, I cackled. I was like, this is funny. And I'm with you. The first half, he got me because I'm like, all right, he's trying. Even though I don't think he really actually likes her, he likes the idea of her. At
Yeah.
least he's trying to help her. And his selfie that he posts
He like
once
made a
he
meme out of
finds
his
her,
own face.
and he's like, the king has found his queen. I was rolling. I was like, this is the best part of the movie. Like his little, just dramatic, I found her. Oh, yeah, perfection.
Like part of me is like, I can't exactly blame her hostility towards him because he does act like a complete weirdo, but also she doesn't know who she is. Like
Right.
someone says that he knows who you are, listen to him. At
Well,
least listen to him trying to take you to a doctor, because it's not like he's trying to take her away to some place that she'll never be found. He's like trying to take her to a doctor who can help.
she's like, if you know me so well, tell me something about myself. And I'm like, okay, y'all have been on 2 dates. That's why I brought up the 2 dates earlier. I'm like, y'all have been on 2 dates. Two.
I didn't even realize it had been two. I kept writing they've been on one date because I guess I missed the ballet thing because they didn't show the ballet, so
No,
I
because they just
glossed
showed
over
him
it.
going in and then coming out and being like, I loved it. And I'm like, okay, so the budget is really low. We don't even get stock footage of any sort of ballet or even like some shot facing the seats where they're just in the seats, and
Yeah.
you never, anyways. But I'm like, and I'm thinking, what is he going to tell you? He's been on 2 dates with you. And of course, he pulls out some story that she told him during one of those dates. Well, it was snowing when I was born. That's why my name is Blanca, white for the snow. And I'm like, oh, okay. And he tells her, and she's like, how do you know that? And he's like, because you told me. It's just dumb. And yet I loved it.
I guess it says something about the quality of their writing if they can write something so stupid and still have us like it.
Absolutely.
They walked a fine line and they didn't fall off, so
I just, their whole interactions once, Lucas Prince found her at the inn, which of course devastates Victoria and Zane. They're like, oh my God, he found her. She's going to fall in love, whatever. But is Lucas trying to prove how much they were in love? And I'm like, okay. In regular fairy tales, it's like one night and they fall in love, or like they meet once and they fall in love. Okay, fine. But they went on 2 dates and he's just like, we're this perfect match. And Blanca keeps telling him, well, tell me more. Like, why would I like you? Like, what? She's just trying to get to the bottom of it. And I'm like, you have zero to draw on because literally y'all been out twice. That's it. 2 times. Y'all don't have history. Y'all don't have memories. Y'all don't have anything.
yeah.
But, again, we just go along for the ride because it's in the script.
Basically, yeah. But like you said, for some reason she's going to be working at this motel. I don't know why. She has the Christmas touch, I guess, and they just knew that.
And she's not doing anything. She's literally putting like tinsel and things.
Yeah, I
Okay.
was unclear as to what her job was going to be other than maybe decorating. I don't know. But then at some point, Hap introduces her to the other Holly Jollies. And for most of them, I could obviously figure out who they were because you had Doc, which is literally the name of a character from the Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs movie, which this Doc is short for Dakota. She doesn't look anything like Doc none of them look like any of the Seven Dwarfs, but whatever. Like the name is, I guess, what counts. So Doc, and then you also had Z, who he explains he saw her fall asleep in the middle of the song and wake up on beat. So I was like, okay, well Z is like Z's, so that she's sleepy.
Mm-hmm.
She's the one who falls asleep. And then somebody sneezes, and he says that guy is named Chew because he's
Yeah.
allergic to pine trees and poinsettias.
So I'm
So,
like, okay, achoo. Okay.
and then you have Oscar, who, when he's introduced, he just glares at her and folds his arms and looks away.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, this is obviously grumpy, but also I think they took the name from Oscar the Grouch.
Right. Yes.
And then Natalie, who is also known as Nat, who is the tambourine player. I'm like, I don't know who she's supposed to be. I'm gonna guess Dopey, but like none of these people, other than Doc, really have any lines. They're just kind of
Right.
there.
See, I thought she was bashful because then I thought the last guy that he introduced, that was Dopey.
That I was, it's either one or the other because the other
Right.
guy was named Tim, and he's the sound guy and bass player, and he looks kind of bashful. So I was like, okay, is he
Yeah.
bashful? But I don't know. Like Nat and Tim could be either
Interchangeable.
dopey or bashful. I don't know for
Right.
sure. But yeah, this is obviously taking from the Disney version of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, which sure, whatever. They are the dwarves that most people know.
Yes.
But I think a lot of people think that the Disney dwarves are just the real names of the dwarves, but
No.
that's not. No, they were made up for the Disney movie. They are
Right.
the Disney dwarves.
Right. Because this is a Grimm's brother fairy tale, like that was made into Snow White. And now, so it's like the Disney version, I mean. And so,
Hmm.
yes, I think there's a little bit of mixing, especially even with Oscar the Grouch. And it's all very convoluted. And the Holly Jollies are just a traveling band that just travel around and spread joy, and yet we never see them play except for one time at the end, very briefly, because anytime we get to them on stage, they're finishing a song
That's true. I didn't
or
even think
they're
of that.
yeah, everything is at the very end or walking in or walking out. There's no tracking shots, there's no master shots, there ain't nothing. It's
They,
either dialogue back and forth, or maybe you'll get an exterior, but there's no like they don't even show us like the exterior really of the inn. I know at the beginning they put the little, like the name of the inn and they show the front door, but they don't really tell you like now you're here by setting up some sort of shot to tell you where you're at. You're there. And you're like, okay, where are we at now? Who is this and what? Okay. Okay. Yep, we're here because so much of what is done in that house from Blanca's, like her house that she grew up in. But I know
mhm.
it's got to be various rooms
Yeah.
that they're just shooting in to make it look like different locations, but it's really just that one house. And then we have this random inn, which also seems to have a bar and a restaurant, and her one bedroom with the tiniest twin bed I've ever seen in my life.
When she's in the bed, it doesn't even look like it's the same place. Like the
No.
whole vibe of the room looks completely different than everywhere else at that motel.
And so to me as the viewer, I'm like, I always have to adjust and be like, where are we at now? Okay, so we're at the bar, fine. And again, it's always right when they end the song and like, all right, thank you for coming out. And I'm like, so we never actually hear them play. And when we do get the little snippets, it's they don't match any of the sounds of any of the instruments on the stage. It's banana pants. I'm like, okay,
I
yep,
feel like they missed something there because they could have done. I mean, there's a lot of missed opportunities in this movie, but like with the band, they could have almost made this a musical if they wanted to. They did have songs throughout this thing,
hmm
but they were like the Hallmark kind of songs where they're kind of in the background, and if you pay attention to the lyrics, they're the most bland, generic,
hmm
like
hmm
copyright-free lyrics that somebody
yeah,
just came up with on the first draft and went with it.
yeah, yeah. So we get to the bar, and that's where Blanca meets because they in the set as they're coming in, and thank you for coming out. And this was all dedicated to our new friend Blanca. Random, they literally met her that day.
They did. I don't think most of them like she met Hap and she met Doc.
Yeah, and that's it. And so she comes up to meet the rest of the band, and then that's when Hunter comes in and starts to be a part of the story again. Because at one point Hap is like, well, I don't think you're going to be alone for much longer. And she turns around and sees Hunter. And well, I know we're going to get to that, but it's like she goes over and she's like, oh my God, I just love them so much. They're so good. And I'm like, ma'am, you met them earlier that day. They didn't even play a full song. What?
Again, she just comes off as kind of an idiot, and
Yes.
that's the main thing that I dislike about the movie is how dumb she is, and also to some extent Hunter, because Hunter, like, he's here because Victoria told him. Like, I'm not even sure. I don't even remember exactly what she told him because he doesn't even seem to know why he's there, other than to just keep an eye on her. But he's also not supposed to tell her why he's there. He's just as dumb as she is, because I would have questions for Victoria when she sent me on this weird errand, because like they're scheming while he's painting his three little sticks on the wall.
Yes.
Like he had to have overheard some of their evilness.
No, apparently those Apple earbuds really block out all the noise, which is
Oh, was he wearing
incorrect.
earbuds? I must have missed
Yes.
that. Okay, well they thought of something to make it make sense. I just missed it.
Yes. And so, they're like, she's in danger. And of course, because, we're led to believe that Hunter's already in love with her. What do you mean? What can I do to help? And she's like, you need to go down there because she's got amnesia. And he's like, what? How? She's stressed. I don't know, comes up with something to why she has this weird emergency amnesia. And they tell him Lucas Prince is trying to bring her back home. And we think that if he shocks her too bad and brings her home, the amnesia will be permanent. So you need to go there and distract her and keep her there until after Christmas. No reason for that date. Just know it needs to be after Christmas. Like, okay.
And he had zero questions. He just went with
No,
it.
he was just like, I'm on my way. And again, that's why at the beginning of this whole recording, I was like, this storyline is ridiculous. It's
Yes.
ridiculous. None of it is, at least when A Cinderella Christmas, like, he's trying to find, the match to the stocking, which,
Yeah.
okay. At least it had some sort of like reasoning of why they would keep bumping into each other, because she's working for him for this party so he can find his match, whatever. This was just like, we're going to send you here, and then we're going to send you here, and then we're going to send you here. And it's just going to be for dumb reasons.
And nobody has any questions. They just
Nope.
do what they're told.
Yep.
Yeah, as much as I think that Blanca is kind of an idiot, Hunter is also. So I
Yes.
guess they're a perfect match.
You're right. They really are. Now that you say it like that, yes, they're completely perfect for each other. Well, so we have to deal with now Lucas and Hunter fighting for her affections when she's only been on 2 dates with one guy and she's only met the other guy
Briefly.
1.5 times, and he like went to her store and ate her candy apples. But now they're all three in this massive, intense love triangle. Sure.
The love triangle doesn't even make sense. Like, I do not see what Lucas sees in her.
No.
Other
Oh,
than
she see what
looks.
she would see in him. Like, why would, yeah.
Well, yeah, like at the moment, she doesn't see anything in him, which is fine because, like, what is there to see in him? But I don't, like, at the beginning, what did she see in him to want to go on a date with him and act like they were maybe a match?
Yeah.
Like, they had nothing in common. Like, it was just so arbitrary. And it felt like something that they set up only to set some plot in motion because Victoria is jealous of this because for whatever reason, she wants Lucas for herself.
Which, okay, but I just don't think it was necessary because the entire point was for her to get the money. We didn't
Yeah.
really need a whole romance
No.
side plot.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
The money was the important thing.
Right.
I don't really know why, because it didn't exactly really go anywhere until at the end, but then it was even weirder at the end. Like, none of it made sense.
I mean, I know we're going to get there, but that entire party. Well, I'll wait. I don't want to say too much. I'll wait. Okay. Sorry.
Then, like, for the middle of the movie, it's like she keeps going on quote unquote dates with both Hunter and Lucas. Like, I don't even know if half of them even count as dates, but like she keeps meeting up with one and then meeting up with the other and meeting up with one and meeting up with the other. And like Hunter is like being like the perfect boyfriend and they're falling in love, but Lucas is then like trying to convince her that they have this whole life together, which like, no, they didn't.
No.
So like I was unclear as to whether they just did a horrible job setting that up or if he's just outright lying to her. Because, like, I didn't remember the ballet thing, so I guess maybe that wasn't a lie. But, like, I felt like he was lying to her for most of this because they did not have a relationship. To me, they met once and had one date. I
Hmm.
guess it was two, but that's still not much more than one.
But he made it sound like they had plans in motion, like they were about to get married and they were going to buy a house, like that they had all these things that they were ready to start doing, and that she just disappeared.
Yeah,
And in reality, yeah, they met twice.
yeah, it made no sense. But then, yeah, like in the meantime, Hunter is like doing all these cute Hallmark things with her, like making cookies. And then you have this one line where he's talking about having one of her candy apples and acting like he knew her before, but then he changes the subject when she questions it. I'm like, why is he not allowed? Like, he should, I don't know, like, he should have been able to tell her that he
Yeah,
knew who she was.
it wouldn't have made any difference because she didn't believe Lucas Prince that he knew her. So why would it be any different with this guy? Oh, you did know me? Okay, well, okay. Like it and it wouldn't change the fact that he still needed to keep her there. Like none of that mattered of whether or not he knew her before. Like you're right, he could have told her. I just they keep going on these, like you said, they keep going back and forth, a coffee date or a dinner, a coffee date or a dinner, but she seems to be working in the coffee shop at one point,
I was unclear as to what exactly she was doing. I think
making
she works
hot
there, but
chocolates.
like she talked about, that was another thing I didn't understand. She talked about like starting a business, but like at this motel, like doing a hot chocolate business, kind of like
Yeah,
what she'd been talking about at the beginning, but like at this motel. Like she does not own this motel.
right.
Even her friend Hap does not own this motel. There's an unseen cousin who we never meet, who left before Blanca even got there, who owns this motel. Like, if you're going to start a business in somebody else's business, you have to talk to the business owner about setting this up. And she's just like acting like this is going to be a thing that she's going to be doing from now on. She's going to have this hot chocolate business.
Yes,
But
or
then what
no.
happens when Christmas is over? Where does that business go? Because who wants
Yeah.
hot chocolate in summer?
And just like the like you said before, the level of unconcernedness that she
Yes.
has with who she is, like you don't even know your backstory. Like you don't even know if you have money. Like you don't even know if you have credit. Like but you're going to start a business and it's going to be a hot chocolate business. This reminds me, I don't remember what the name of it was, but there was a Hallmark movie at one point when her dream was to quit her job and make Christmas wreaths. And that's all she wanted to do was make Christmas wreaths. And everybody in her life was like, you this is your time. You need to do this. You're so talented. Like, you're going to quit your job to make Christmas wreaths? Okay. And of course, it all works out. And I'm like, fantastic. But this reminds me of this. She wants to start a business making hot chocolate bars. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. I'm just, again, along for the ride. Sure.
This made about as much sense as whatever legalese they were trying to explain away with the will.
Oh, yeah. Well, before we even get to the part of the will, we have to have the dreaded. Now, let me preface this. I love a good third act breakup in a romance novel because there are times, for the most part, it really works. It services the story. It solidifies, their commitments to each other. Like it brings it full circle. Like old internal conflicts pop up. Maybe there's a new ex, whatever. And to me, I'm like fine because the part of the romance novel that I enjoy is the fact that it's a happily ever after. You know it's going to work out. It's the journey to get there that's the stressful part, right? So okay,
Hmm.
I'm fine with a third act breakup. You know it's coming, and even though they're not technically together, there's a whole misunderstanding between Hunter and Blanca that is so dumb,
It's
and
like,
it's
like if they're done well, maybe it could be good. But like, I hate it when somebody in a movie overhears one thing and thinks they know everything, and then runs away mad without hearing the rest of it, and then they're furious at somebody that they overheard and didn't overhear the whole thing. But then this changes how they feel about this person, and like, I hate that whole trope. Like, if they can make it make sense and it lasts for longer, I guess, sure. But then this was like done and over in like 5 minutes before they. I was annoyed by that whole thing.
I was annoyed because basically Blanca overhears Luke on the phone with Victoria and Zane, whoever, and they're being like, "Listen,
Hunter, she overhears Hunter because
right? I'm sorry,
Lucas had left
right?
by
Oh
that
yeah, that's
point.
right. Lucas is like, I'm taking the money and I'm leaving. He was like, I'm going back because I can't
She
wait for you.
promised him. I don't even know how she set this up. Victoria
Yes,
promised him a cover story on Architectural Digest.
right.
Like, I don't know how she wrangled that. She might have
I
just been
think she was
lying.
lying. Yeah,
But
I
even
think
if
she was lying.
even either way, she has tricked him into thinking he's going to get a cover story on Architectural Digest. So he's like, I'm leaving. You're going to be sorry when I'm gone. Something you'll be calling me crying when you realize your mistake. And I liked her reaction. She's just like, bye, Lucas.
Yeah, she's like, okay, bye. I'll definitely call you never. Okay.
And so, that's when she goes and overhears
Hunter.
the call between Hunter and Zane, he's like trying to update about like Lucas left and now what do you do? And they're like trying to get him to stay there and keep her there.
Right. And now finally, after all this time, Hunter's starting to get suspicious. Hey, Victoria
after how long?
might not be nice people. And so, and he figures it out. But of course, Blanca only hears a snippet. And so he tries to go talk to her and she lashes out at him. And she's like, I can't believe you were with them the whole time, because I guess they had kissed and that unlocked her memories. That was true love.
They had a true love's kiss and now she remembers. But like, why does she remember things that she wasn't even aware of? Like, she knows the whole hypnotizing plot. Like, how does she know that? Exactly.
I wrote that in all caps in my notes. How does she know she was hypnotized? So I should have talked about that. Like, her and Hunter have this little scene again in some part of the house because they try to make it look like a different location, and it's just them two zoomed in really close on a children's tent that has like little fairy lights on it. It's very cute. It's a very cute little scene, but it's just them two really up close. Like, you just see this. Okay, fine.
Oh, and yes, that scene where the true love's kiss comes because he gave her a painting that he did of her and her dad. But the painting was an obvious photograph, just a blown up version of the Christmas ornament that Victoria broke at the beginning.
Right, it's the same picture. And I'm like, did he? Because when my husband watched, he's like, painting? That's a picture. And I was like, did she mean paint the frame? Because when you look at it, I stopped on the frame at one point and I was like, it's just like a white frame with little red like Christmas things like stamped on it. And I'm like, okay, this is sad. Okay. So they have their little moment, they kiss, and she starts to unlock memories. And instead of being like, oh my God, I remember, and him being like, that's great, let's work this out, she's like, I need to be alone. And they physically film him awkwardly getting up off the ground and leaving the scene instead of just like cutting it and be like, I need to be alone. He's like, I understand. And just cutting. They wait for him to get up off the floor and walk out, and I'm just like, it's so awkward to watch because they're sitting with their legs crossed and he has to like uncross them and get out of this little kid's tent, and it's just so dumb. And okay, and I'm like, did y'all need to fill, like, y'all needed to reach like 90 minutes? I'm guessing.
That's what I was thinking.
That 30 seconds, we need it, just leave it. And so she's back in her room unlocking all these memories, and then she overhears the Hunter's conversation. So of course she lashed out. Of course you're working with them. You've only been here to trick me, blah, blah, blah. I'm just like, oh, y'all are exhausting, because all he has to do is just say, stop, let me explain, and lay it all out. And she's like, no, I hate you. That's dumb.
Yes. But that whole thing really only lasted 5 minutes because she overhears him, marches out, then they have a confrontation, she leaves again, then he goes and gets the Holly Jollies and they make her listen. But it was probably less than 5 minutes between her overhearing the conversation and making up with him. So I was like, what is the point of throwing in this tired trope that I hate of somebody overhearing part of something and getting mad about it? It's like, you could have done away with this. Just whatever.
Because we have to point out that the Holly Jollies left. She came in crying after all of this, getting her memories back, hearing Hunter on the phone. She comes into the front desk looking for Hap, and he's not there. And she finds a note where they're like, happy 25th birthday. See you next year. ! Even though she's only paid for a month. Fine. And so she's still crying and, whatever. But then they come back. The Holly Jollies come back and they're like, we came back on purpose because this guy, pointing to Hunter, called us and told us what happened. And now we're here to make you listen. Like, what? They got on the road. They're on the way to their next destination. And they're like, nope, all 7 of us are coming back to facilitate you two getting back together.
Oh, my question is, where were they going? Because, do they live together? They're a Christmas-themed band. It is Christmas. what are they going to do the day after Christmas? Like, do
Yeah,
they change the theme of their band?
right? They're like, now we're a New Year's Eve band.
I mean, that could work to a point. And then after New Year's Eve, now what? Do you wait for
Valentine's.
Easter? Now you're an Easter band? Oh, Valentine's. Okay, well, but still, it's like this, whatever.
Yeah,
I guess it doesn't need to make sense, but it doesn't make sense. And I have questions.
yeah. Because now they're a part of it. Because from here on out, the Holly Jollies are with them.
Yeah,
From here
exactly.
on out, for no reason whatsoever.
They have no other commitments.
Nope. And apparently endless money to fund these trips going various places to make sure that Blanca gets her life back together.
Yeah. Uh, I wondered partly if they brought them back so that she would have a way, like an excuse to how to get out of there, because she was dropped off unconscious. She has no car. I'm assuming no money because she didn't pay for this place unless they were
Hmm.
like doing some under the table thing because she wouldn't have documents to like legally be
Right.
employed. So maybe she's got like a wad of cash she could have paid for a taxi or something. I don't know. But like I just kind of assumed that because like you see this a shot of like a minivan driving down the road, so it was like, okay, I guess this is the Holly Jolly Mobile.
Yeah. Like planes, trains, and automobiles, they all get together and they just drive around. Okay.
It's not the same, but it reminded me of the band in Home Alone that bring
Yes.
the mom.
Oh, the polka band. Polka, polka.
Yes.
Oh my God.
So yeah, they make up, I guess. They're fine. Five
Yeah.
minutes
And they
later, it's
decide
fine.
Victoria's going to steal your money. Oh my gosh. Let's all go and get her and
Yeah.
teach her a lesson.
Yeah, because like you somewhere in here you also have a scene of Victoria going to meet with the lawyer and talking. I want to call it legalese, but it's not even legalese. It's just like
No.
this thinly contrived plot device of if she presents this letter that allegedly she wrote renouncing her claim to the inheritance. Like none of this makes sense because like if this letter was like wouldn't they have to have a notary? Like
Well, they did. Remember, there's a whole scene when Zane was like, and notary school was really boring. So you're welcome because he became a notary public so that
oh,
way he
that's
could notarize it.
right.
And then when they cut to a picture of this letter renouncing it, it's giant notary stamp. It's like really big. But my question here is if all it took was a letter, why do we have the arbitrary December 25th, 8 p.m. date? Why not just take it to the lawyer and say she's renouncing it? Yep, it's notarized. Okay, close probate. We're done. Why do we have to go through all this if all it takes is a letter?
Yeah, I don't know. And I also wonder why does the lawyer just believe this? Because like through this whole thing, she's just like making evil faces. Like if somebody was acting like that and brings me a letter saying all of this money is going to be mine if you take and accept this letter, and this person who's not here to say anything said I could have all her money, I
Yeah,
would have questions.
right. Produce her. I need to get her on the phone or
Yes.
FaceTime or something, or we will reschedule this meeting
Yeah.
and file a motion to extend the probate. I don't know. Like, there's got to be something else besides this random 8 p.m. day. Why 8 p.m.
I don't know. That doesn't make any
on
sense.
Christmas Day? That lawyer better be making bank too, because per hour, but holiday hour, after hours, that lawyer better be getting a lot of money on that.
Yeah, I don't know. Nothing about this made sense to me.
No, because Victoria and Zane are like, well, we're throwing a party trying to lure her back. So you can come to the party tonight. And the lawyer's like, fine. If she doesn't show, we'll just finalize everything at the party. What?
It made
What?
no sense.
No, ridiculous. So the party, can we talk about the party now? Because
Yes.
they cut to this party. They finally have one tracking shot and it's through a fireplace and all you see are people's legs.
It felt like it didn't feel like the same place. I wondered if it was like stock footage from somewhere else.
It felt like it because there was like at most at this Christmas party trying to lure Blanca back, 8 people there. It was very sparse. No one's really doing anything. I'm like, okay, and then of course it's getting closer. It's getting closer to 8 o'clock. And it's like right there, they're showing the clock. And then the lawyer's like, I guess she's not coming.
Yeah, it was
Womp
like 10
womp.
minutes till. And she's like, I guess she's not coming. Okay, well, we'll just do it now. It's
Yeah, so
like,
it's
what is the point of 8 p.m. if you're not even going to follow the 8
yeah,
p.m. deadline?
okay. She's not here. Party didn't work, and of course she busts in, Blanca busts in, and I almost fell off the couch laughing when she busts in with all the holly jollies too. Like they all came to this party. And oh, okay. So let me just say, I thought that was bizarre. Okay. And I thought that was it, that they were going to be okay, they fixed it. And that was where the movie was going to end. But no, the Holly Jollies come in with Blanca, and the lawyer's like, oh, you're here. Okay, great. You actually, Victoria, broke the law by trying to commit fraud. So you get no money.
First, like Victoria snatches the letter and was like trying to sign it really quickly as soon as Blanca shows up. And then her godmother like smacks her cane down on it.
Yes.
And I was like, okay, so her godmother was there this whole time and her godmother said nothing. Like the godmother should have been at the lawyer like, okay, my granddaughter has been or goddaughter has been missing for I don't know however long.
Yeah, and I don't follow her on social media. I have no idea where she is. Yeah,
so
I don't even see any of her posts showing exactly where she is and what she's doing. But yes,
the godmother should have been opening a missing persons case.
Right.
Because she was just like, okay, I guess I'll just go to this party. And apparently she's not coming and she's going to lose all her money. And I'm just going to be here watching and saying nothing.
Yeah. So, and then the lawyer's like, you committed fraud, so you get nothing. And I'm like, okay, now the movie's going to. Nope. Blanca's like, I want to be mad at you, but I'm going to go ahead and not press charges. I'll do something else instead. And then they cut to 1 year later, and I'm just beside myself.
Before they cut to 1 year later, you have a bizarre scene of Lucas starting to hit on Victoria. And I'm like, what is this?
Yes, I forgot about that. I forgot that Lucas was there and he's leaning over. He's like, Victoria, you really are the most beautiful. And I'm just like, oh my God, what? Yes, I totally forgot about that. Yeah.
That made no sense. Like, he didn't show any interest in her romantically at all for the entire movie. And then as soon as she is revealed to be committing fraud and trying to steal Blanca's inheritance, now she's attractive.
Yeah, now he's like, all right, let's talk. You know what? I also forgot that Hunter and Blanca like have a little romantic moment. And I truly thought at that point, it's the next day or at the party.
Me too.
Over.
I did too. There were so many times with the way they cut the movie, it felt like it was another day.
And so I'm like, oh, they're in the living room now. They're having their little romantic moment. It's the tie up. It's the conclusion. And then they come back to the kitchen with all the holly jollies standing there. And I'm like,
yes,
wait a minute.
So they were there for this whole time
in the living room, but the holly jollies are in the kitchen just watching them.
Yes.
What?
I literally stopped it and rewound to see if I missed something because I was like, so does this mean that they were just having this whole intimate conversation?
Yes.
And the Holly Jollies were just off 10 feet away watching?
Yes. With snacks and the rest of the party food because I really thought it was later that night.
Yeah, me too.
Left, or the next day or something. No. Still the party. So banana pants.
Yeah. Just ridiculous.
Yeah. And then the 1 year later, they're married, I think. And it's still the Holly Jollies playing. I don't know. After that, I was like, all right, I'm done.
Well, the 1 year later, the last we saw of Victoria was she was promised something. She had a surprise for her, but she wasn't going to say what it was. And then it cuts to 1 year later, and Victoria and Zane are working at her candy store. And I'm like, okay, what?
With the most obviously empty boxes that they're stacking up. They're supposed to be full of treat. Yeah.
And then she has a line, something about Lucas, and he, they must have been a thing because they're talking like he broke up with her because candy store workers weren't really his thing. And then she's fake screaming and sobbing while Zane is trying to tell her she's still beautiful.
I think I blacked out at that moment because as soon as I saw them in the candy store, I was like, all right, I'm done.
It,
I'm done.
I think they were going for, like, at the end of several different Cinderella versions, the comeuppance for the stepmother and to the stepdaughters are that they somehow have to work, like, at the
Yes.
castle, like in Ever After, they're like working in
Yes.
laundry. In one of the animated ones, they like, for a moment, they're like turned into toads, but then they get turned into servants. So I think they were going for something like that. But with this modern day version, it's like, why on earth would she hire them as her employees when they have been trying to sabotage and steal from her
Yeah.
this entire movie? That makes no sense. Like, I wouldn't want them around. Like, even if I was the most forgiving soul and not pressing charges for what they tried to do to her, why would I want them around? I would either, if they weren't going to move, I would move. I wouldn't want to be around these people. But
I
she
mean,
hires them.
you know, this whole thing, everybody got put in places for no reason at all. What would have been more delightful is it cuts to them working at the inn,
That would
like
have made slightly more sense than being
all
hired at the candy
sequestered.
store.
Yeah, at that inn, and you're led to believe maybe Blanca bought the inn from the mysterious missing cousin, because once they all leave to go fix her inheritance, who's now there at the inn? Nobody. The cousin's
That's
not back.
true. I didn't even think of that because Hap was supposed to be watching the hotel.
Yeah, the cousin's not back. He just leaves with a note. So I'm like, all right. And Blanca was their only guest. Well, Blanca and Hunter, they're gone. So I'm like, okay. So I thought, okay, that would have been funny as if she, we're led to believe she bought the inn and put Zane and Victoria at the inn, but because nothing made sense. So it would have made perfect sense for them to start working there away from her. But that's the place she loved the most. So why wouldn't she go back there?
I
Like,
don't
why
know.
wouldn't her and Hunter go back there? And
I
he could,
thought that that's where they were going with the whole
yeah,
movie. I thought they were leading up to them deciding to move out of the city and sell this giant sterile mansion and
yeah.
move to the quaint little motel in the
And
tiny
he could have
town.
painted stick murals all over those walls.
That kind of aesthetic would have worked much better in the little town
Murals,
than the
yes.
big, giant, sterile, modern mansion.
So random. He was painting on those walls. It was so dumb. So yeah, so it all worked out, and except for the little button at the end, except for the 1 year later, I everything to me was highly entertaining. I could have done without the 1 year later, honestly.
Yeah, that they could have just ended it where they did, because like before they cut to 1 year later, they basically just said Merry Christmas, let's party. They did the toast, and I was like, that's the perfect place to end. But then
Right.
the 1 year later was just bizarre.
Time. They needed to. They were like, we need 3 more minutes. 1 year later, everybody back, and they just, yeah.
And now they're married. Like they didn't even show a wedding.
Of course not. We didn't even get to see a ballet shot, so why would we see a wedding?
It probably was too cost prohibitive to try and buy a wedding dress and rent a tux.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So I'm looking to see who wrote this movie. Paula Ran or Ron. She has a bunch of Christmas movies, actually.
That doesn't really surprise me.
No, but she does have her latest ones. The last one she did was in 2022, and it's called In Love with My Partner's Wife. Nice. And then the one right before that was His Killer Fan. Even better. So I'm in on this writer. I want to see.
The 12 Pups of Christmas.
Yeah. So I'm in.
Is
I'm
that a
like,
101 Dalmatians ripoff?
right? That would be amazing.
I just scrolled down the IMDb page. The very first review is 1 star and says absolutely trash.
Oh no. This is probably amazing. Yeah, so I know we've said this over and over again, but terrible movie, highly entertaining.
Yeah, it was.
That should be their new tagline anytime they try and repackage this to sell this for like a $4 Walmart bin DVD. Ridiculous plot, highly entertaining.
I think they've switched from bargain bin DVDs to just selling things to Tubi. Because, like, for the past, I don't know how many things that I've recorded recently or will be recording, like, there are so many fairy tale movies on Tubi. Like,
Seriously?
this seems to be my go-to source for trying to find random Snow White, Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty versions, like outside of like the mainstream ones. There's so many weird. I just noticed a new one, Cinderella in the Caribbean.
Oh, yes. And so is that where you watched this one? Did you watch it on Tubi?
Yes.
Okay, randomly, I got it through Peacock, and I'm like, all right, Peacock.
I think these studios must make these to sell them to streamers, because
Yeah.
like that, not just this one, but there's more than one that I found elsewhere. But Tubi seems to be the one that has the greatest variety because there's so many.
Okay, I'm gonna have to start looking at Tubi more then.
Yeah, the just at the bottom, there's so many just Cinderella and Christmas rip-off movies.
Mm.
There's
Well,
one that's literally called just Sappy Holiday.
No. Okay, I'm looking it up. Tubi. No, I just want to say I'm always grateful when you ask me to be on this podcast. I always, thank you for, letting me be a part of this series and all the other things. But truly, the fact that you bring these movies into my life, I'm forever grateful because yeah, they're terrible. And I love every one of them. So thank you.
We'll have to do another one because now I'm curious about that Cinderella in the Caribbean movie.
Oh my goodness. I'm looking at Sappy Holiday. Oh, yes. This is going on the list for sure.
Well, we already talked about doing Cinderella, which I still want to do, but maybe at some point we should add Cinderella in the Caribbean to the list. And maybe Sappy Holiday could be just a one-off thing for the Christmas time.
Yes. So these have all been delightful.
Okay, well, that's probably all we have to say about A Snow White Christmas.
Yeah.
We will be back with something else in the future. Probably another fairy tale, whether it's Cinderella or Snow White or something else. It will probably be a completely different reinterpretation of the story because those seem to be the most entertaining. But until then, do you want to let people know where they can find you if they'd like more from you?
Sure. You can find me on mainly Instagram and YouTube at My Bookish Agenda.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we will see you soon for something else.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to Every Version Ever. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe and follow my co-hosts as well. My Linktree and all of our links will be in the description below. If you want more of my content, all my podcasts are available on YouTube as well as most podcast platforms. If you enjoyed this show, check out one of the other podcasts or check out my Patreon for bonus and extended episodes you won't find anywhere else. We'll be back soon with another brand new episode, so thanks for listening and we'll see you next time.